What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 5 of Aiming Up with Kenneth and Trey. With you, as always, is Trey Bruffey with Integrated Muscle and Health, and then Kenneth Almond, Foundry Physiques.
with yeah
And then we today have a guest, Jesse Carstairs. We're going to talk all things masculinity, how it relates to Jesus, things like that. This is redo number 2, since Kenneth has shitty internet.
not
So this
anymore.
was recorded like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but we're going to redo it today. It'll be a good one for you. I think it'll be better than the original one we did. So first, let's just go around, see how everybody's week has been. We'll start with you, Kenneth, and then I'll go, and then we'll go Jesse. Okay.
To be transparent, I am the heaviest I've ever been in my life, and I am struggling with sleep apnea, and it's not fun. And I'm not sleeping good at night, and I woke up grumpy this morning. I went to the gym, had a great training session, but I'm going to the dentist to see if there's something that they can do. Because my wife is like panicking down the rabbit hole of sleep apnea and what can you do to fix that? Because there's all kinds of other issues that can or
Are
that are
you doing
underlying. But
mouth taping? Have you tried it?
I bought the mouth tape, but it's not in yet, and I'm hoping that's going to help some. But I'll tell you what I have done. I have a nasal strip, the plastic one with the little
Yeah.
magnets, and then I also have um, these little wedges that you put under your mattress that
Yep.
tilts you up.
Yep.
And that actually helps. So she can sleep. So the real reason why I'm down this road is my gurgling and gargling and growling and grizzly bear noises are keeping her up at night. So I'm frantically trying to find a way so that she sleeps better. But in the transition of doing that, my sleeping is being impacted because like sleeping on a tilt's not very fun. And like it is, if you look at my watch, it's improving,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like it is. So um, it's just one of those things where in the middle of a bulk, you know, before a contest prep, it's something that you deal with as a bodybuilder, I guess, with the rapid weight gain. But man, I'm kind of fluffy too, and just like it's just not fun. The only thing that's fun is the training.
Yeah.
So
I would do the mouth taping. They do mouthpieces as well, mouth guards.
okay, I'm hoping the dentist might have something like that.
Yeah. And then worst case, get a machine, dude. They're not that hard. Get one.
Well, I've tried it. I've done it like
Oh, I
I
did. You
tried it
didn't
for a
like it.
month. I hated it.
Yeah,
Couldn't
I
do
hate.
it.
I don't even use mine. Mine's in the basement somewhere.
It was horrible.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
tell you, do the tilt, do the mouth tape, and then they do like the mouthpiece or whatever, mouth guard.
yeah,
It
and
works
that's
fine.
really sexy right before bed too. You're like, "What's
Hey,
up, girl?"
dude,
and
it don't
shit.
matter.
I'm just kidding.
What's sexier, both of y'all sleeping or your wife being pissed at you and you're grouchy?
Or dead, or I'm
Dead.
dead. Yeah.
Or you're dead. I have a client right now. He's an AFib now because of his sleep apnea.
Yeah, I'm
Like
sure.
that's not a fun process.
No. Mm-mm.
Well, sweet. Me, things have been super hectic and busy. I had that presentation yesterday.
Yeah, how'd it go?
It went really well, man. It was the most people they've had on that call. A lot of people signed up for it. Usually you only have like 6 or so people. No, I think I missed like 20 or so.
Just so you know,
Um,
Jesse, he did a peptides.
oh yeah, peptides
He
one.
did like a presentation on peptides with a bunch of colleagues and stuff, and he was kind of the man yesterday
Yeah.
doing
So
that.
Oh,
It's
cool.
kind of cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it went well. They're wanting to do like a part two um to it. So I had that. I just got done with a consult call before earlier, signed a new client today, and then I actually signed a mentoring client as well today. So it's been
Good.
super busy this week. But no, man, that's about it. What about you, Jesse? And then we'll just go in who you are from there.
Man, my week has not been as good as your guys. I haven't been able to lift at all this week.
No, that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I have zero complaints.
Okay.
How are you
Yeah.
feeling? Like you said, you were not feeling well. What's not
No,
feeling
just
good?
like super sore throat in the middle of the night, so it's impacting my sleep.
Hmm.
And then last night I was congested, but during the day the sore throat completely goes away.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's just it's all like just heavy in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you taking anything?
Dude, my wife has me drink fucking concoctions of mixtures of things. Yeah. So yeah, whatever that is.
You should get some grapefruit seed extract spray
Yeah.
and spray it on the back of your neck. It helps a lot.
Back of the throat.
Back of your throat,
Okay.
not neck. Yeah, your throat. Sorry, bad choice of words.
Yeah, I'll have to grab
Check it
some of
out.
that.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
It works really well for me.
Check the chat. It's already in there.
Oh,
Sweet.
sweet.
Yeah. Do that.
So,
Um, I'll send you one other thing. Are you having a cough or anything?
It was a teeny bit last night, but
Other thing I've been doing, because everyone's getting what you have, um, is these colloidal silver Manuka honey cough drops. I sent those well. And then mix warm water, salt, apple cider vinegar. Do a
uh
gargle of that every hour. Well, because what it'll do is it'll
ooh,
coat your
every
throat
hour.
every hour or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll coat the back of your throat. You just got to put the salt in the water, warm water in the ACV. You just do a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And it works.
Yeah.
I've been, I think most of my rosters had what you've had, and we've been able to kick it in the butt with that
yeah,
exact combo.
Yeah,
Um,
the stuff that my wife has me drinking, there's some raw honey in there, some apple cider vinegar,
yeah,
okay.
and she's just always having a pound of that.
right.
She's on
Yeah.
top of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'll look up that other stuff too.
yeah. Well, sweet man. Well, we appreciate you coming on for the second time, but like introduce who you are, how you got into where you are. I didn't know that I didn't hear about that last time, but I am curious how you got into what you do, um, and how you got there. I'm definitely interested personally.
Yeah, Jesse Carstairs. I am a men's coach specifically for men of faith. And how I got into it, um, it's because of my wife, really. At one point, our relationship really sucked. Fast forward, it's amazing. And her friends were asking her, "Hey, how do you get Jesse to do X, Y, Z?" And she goes, "He just does it." And then they would come over on Wednesdays and we would talk to them about their relationship. And I would talk to them about what the girl should be doing, what her husband, and then they would be like reeling them over. Like, you have to come and talk to Jesse, which no dude wants to do that.
No,
And then my wife is like, put it on social media. And I was like, I want to be famous on social media for hunting, not for talking about relationships. And she's like, just do it. And my very first parenting post like got like 300,000 views in like 5 days. And I went from like 60 followers to like 800. And then my
whoa,
first relationship post, which was like maybe a couple posts later, hit 1 million views in the span of like 2 weeks. And then I went to 8,000 followers. And I was like, whoa. And she's like,
that's
see,
when I
I
picked
told
you
you.
up. That's when I started following you. You had about 8,000, 8 to 10,000 followers. And where are you at now?
Almost 50,000.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's cool because my podcast, I would get like like a dozen people downloading and listening to my podcast every week. And now it's like, who knows how many times more than that now.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'll get clients will who will sign up and I'm like, hey, how'd you hear about me? They're like, I've been listening to your podcast. And I was like, oh, so that thing works.
No
Yeah.
kidding. And yours are
Uh,
short. It's like a little 15 minutes, right?
yeah. Like the one I released yesterday was 25 minutes or maybe on Tuesday. But yeah, I'll do like short ones, and then if I have a guest, I can do like longer ones because I'll do a lot of
Wow.
solo podcasts.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
noticed. Yeah,
Now,
that's awesome.
when you were getting into it, and like your wife was go telling you to post or talk about it, were you learning it? Was there schooling? Was there books, or was it life or Bible? Like I know the Bible and Jesus is involved, but what led you to develop those thoughts and how to apply them and
I
just
went
get out there?
probably, so you guys are familiar with Derek, More Plates, More Dates.
Yeah.
Essentially, he
Yeah.
went down his own rabbit hole of studying. It's like not something we go to school for, right?
Yep.
I went down, so we've been together, and again, we say together as like boyfriend, girlfriend, dating. There was rough patches where we were, had been broken up, but overall, it's about 15 years.
Yeah.
And In the very beginning, it's easy, right? We didn't live together, we didn't have kids, we just were dating. Fancy word for sleeping together. And then when we had our first son, when she unexpectedly got pregnant, that's when shit sucked. And I was like, it can't be like this. Like life, there has to be some truth to those like Disney movies, right? Where they live happily ever after. There has to be some truth to whatever other movie you could watch. And so I went down like the rabbit hole reading books, whether it was biblical or secular, trying to listen to podcasts, trying to just find as much information of what it looks like to be good at being a man, and then how that translates to being a really good husband. And so I just consumed myself. And when I'm obsessed with something, I get pretty obsessed. Like that's kind of all I want to do. Like I don't want to do anything else. And so I just kind of went all in. And I'm still like, I have a buddy who recommended a book to me today that doesn't necessarily 100% correlate with any of this, but I'm like, oh, I could probably pull a nugget from this.
Was there anyone in particular as you're diving into it that you felt was like, because like when I dig into my own study, like I have a degree and everything, but coaching almost, I think 14 years or 13 years, whatever it is
Mhm.
now, I can pinpoint certain individuals that really developed me as a coach and with what we do. Was there any particular individuals that you were diving down those rabbit holes that you felt like really helped shape who you are now? Like obviously there's
Yeah.
hundreds and thousands you probably learned from like we all do, but were
Mhm.
there any like particular individuals that you felt really resonated with you, really helped shape your thoughts on how you help other men?
Yeah. I would say leaps and bounds ahead of all of them was this dude named Jesus. Like,
There
and
we go.
when I say that,
Yeah.
he literally, I wish I could be, there was some sort of Joe Rogan podcast where I could have an actual debate about how Jesus carried himself as a man versus whoever that guy wants to pick. Fucking stoicism, whatever. It's like because when we read the Bible and we actually read it to understand like Luke 4:28 through 31, it says the people drove him out of the town to the edge of the cliff and they threatened to kill him and throw him off the cliff. And then it goes in verse 31, he walked through the center of them and went on his way. It's like, what kind of freaking John Wick mother effer is able to just walk through the middle of a crowd of people who wanted to throw him off the cliff and he just went on his way? Doesn't say he fled. It doesn't say he narrowly escaped, right? It doesn't have any description of fear. He walked right through them and went on his way. It's essentially he was just calling their bluff. He was calm and composed. He never got defensive. They weren't like he was begging for his life. There was no signs of weakness in that moment. Mark 4:35 through 41. Him and his disciples and other men, they get in these boats, right? And there's a big storm and he's sleeping and they're like, you need to wake up. We're going to die. And these are fishermen. Okay. These are fishermen who are worried that the storm is so bad that they're going to die. And now he tells the winds and the waves to calm down. And then they're like, who is it that even the wind and the waves obey? But the amount of authority that he presented himself with and the way he was composed while everyone else is just filled with anxiety and fear. It's like, well, not him. How can we in any storm, whether it's physical or metaphorical, be as composed as he is? And it's like, well, I mean, I want that. Like what this guy's doing, what he's actually doing. And then we're just called to be like him, right? Because a disciple is making a copy. He's trying to get these guys to be like him. And he says, why do you have so little faith? So I just look at
So,
so many of the ways that he carried himself out, and even in front of like Pontius Pilate, just the way he was composed. It's like, okay, so if my wife is pissed and she's calling me names, I don't need to be defensive. Like that just is in turn is having me act like a little girl, like being catty, right? I need to be strong and be a rock to where her waves can crash up against me and then I can calm the sea.
So here's a question. Um, Clearly, you have to have a relationship with Jesus to get to the point to where you're sort of unpacking
Mhm.
masculinity in Jesus. Can you tell us about your when you came to know Jesus and sort of the progression of here's how I define masculinity, you know, pre-Jesus to here's how I define masculinity now with a deeper relationship with Jesus. And do you find that it's ever if it's evolving as your relationship gets deeper, or is it here are the constructs of masculinity and these are unmovable things and there's no more depth to it.
Mhm. Make sure I come back to the constructs of masculinity because I'm
Yeah.
going to kind of answer your first
I might
question.
I might even answer it. I might actually ask that question differently. So talk about
Okay.
your relationship, how you found Jesus, how you defined masculinity at that point, and then how it changed through that relationship with Jesus.
I mean, I was a dude in high school who would walk around with my shirt off like after PE because I'm like, hey, I'm sweaty, can't put this on. Um, and also in high school doing that exact same thing, I had this like gut-wrenching feeling to take myself to church.
Hmm.
And so I did. And I would literally go by myself because I didn't care what anyone else thought. But by no means was I a Christian or acting like one. And then 5 years
Huh.
ago, before my second son was born, I really wanted to intentionally give my life to Christ and be baptized. 5 years ago, being baptized was the single greatest decision I've ever made in my life. I had about 32 employees, and literally days after being baptized, they said they noticed I was different. And I'm like, good. That's the point.
What were you doing?
That was different.
No, what was your career? And then what did they notice you were doing differently?
So I worked for this super liberal coffee company, and I was in coaching and development for them.
Okay.
So I would run teams, and we were based on metrics and performance. It's the biggest coffee company in the world. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
yeah. And so I liked the benefits that they provided me, but I did not like them in their political stance. Um, a buddy of mine was like, dude, I could get you a killer job working for them. They'll hire you right away. And this is a guy who also left, was a cowboy, would wear cowboy boots, and now he's a cop. But so I did, and yeah, my team was like, "You're different," and I was like, I
Yeah.
was pumped. Like that couldn't have been a better compliment.
Because you were around a bunch of liberals. They're like,
Well,
what are you
actually, like
doing?
the area that I was in, they weren't, which was
Okay.
cool. But the company as a whole and national calls that I had to be on, it was just a bunch of blue hairs.
Okay.
So, but as far as a relationship goes, it needs to be further. It needs to be your identity in Christ.
Right.
And men often don't understand the difference between identity and roles. Men will say, if you're like, hey, what's your identity as a man? They're going to be like, I'm an engineer, I'm a husband, and a father. All three of those are roles. Roles can change, roles can be taken from you. That's not identity. So it's building your identity on sand, and there's no foundation. Your identity has to be in something that can never be taken away from you, especially from another man. So my identity is first and foremost, my identity is I'm a follower of Christ. That's about it. That's all I need. And then there's the part of living it out because we could say it. I'm sure you guys get clients who are like, yeah, I follow my prep, my show
Yeah.
prep.
Right.
But it's like,
Right.
but do you really? Are you adding a little barbecue sauce on that plain chicken breast, or
Right.
not? So then there's the living out that identity and truly believing it and embracing it. And then it's a cheat code for life because now you're able to be so much more secure in your own skin in anything because you only care about his opinion. You know, I I tell people I care about his opinion more than my wife's. And for context, if she's mad and flinging arrows at me, it's like it's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not going to get defensive. There's no need, right? Um, so truly living it out is huge. And it is the cheat code to life of like having your identity in him.
So I want to bring up another thing. Uh, I remember one of your posts was like, most men confuse masculinity with silence, defensiveness, or withdrawal. And what do you, why do you think men fall into those types of patterns? And what do you mean? Like, tell us why you believe it's confused. Like, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean?
Um, I'm curious. I don't know if yeah, maybe most men do confuse, but like I try not to even put masculinity and passivity in the same sentence unless it's passivity is not masculine at all. Um,
Right,
just for clarification, too many men think that they are passive, right? They're not making decisions. They want to just please their spouse. You know, it's easier. There's this total bullshit saying, happy wife, happy life. And
right,
it's terrible. That is a terrible saying. Straight dumb. And
right,
men will get caught up in that. And then it doesn't allow them in be in a place to actually make decisions. They're putting the weight on her. She doesn't want the weight, and they just want peace. They're just like, oh, everything is okay as long as there's peace in the household. But it's not real peace. It's a facade.
right. Yeah, I remember having an awakening within myself, and I kind of used this analogy the last time we talked, but um, we're talking about leading in the context of my family.
Mhm.
And Donna, my wife, she would look at me and say, "You're not leading. You're not leading in this situation. You're not giving us direction." And then what I realized is like, not only was I responsible for everything in the house,
Mhm.
and every decision was my responsibility. It may not be my decision per se, um, individually, but what I realized is there's this weight of understanding that this responsibility is the heaviest weight that you can take on. And I remember thinking the last time I felt something this heavy, and I've been training for gosh since I was in high school, and the first time that I got under the squat bar for 315 pounds, it was like almost like, whoa, why am I even doing this? This is not what I want to do. This is a miserable weight. This is too heavy. And that's what it felt like when I started stepping into leadership in my own house and like taking responsibility. It's like this thought process of having this radical responsibility of everything. So if the dishes aren't done, it's your responsibility. You know, if the mail's not checked, it's your responsibility. If your wife cheats on you, it's your responsibility. If everything's your responsibility. And so when you look at it like that, it's just this like almost takes your breath away. But then what I realized is when I started stepping into the leadership and I started exerting my leadership and loving my wife, you know, because Jesus calls us to love our wives the way that he loves the church. So that's my primary responsibility. Like if I love my wife, then everything else sort of falls into place. And yeah, I have to work and all that stuff, but like I have to love her well. So that in conjunction with making these decisions and leading in every situation, I realized the more I did it, it was like the lighter the weight got. It's like the more you did the squat for 315, the more your muscles were like, oh yeah, I got this. I'm going to PR next time. So like now I'm in this relationship that's so secure because there's not silence, there's not defensiveness, there's not withdrawal. And I think men can kind of think about like the background of their father. And like my dad was passive. And my dad was passive because he was scared. But I just thought you're passive because you're a dude. Like you just don't care about it, or it's not really your responsibility, whatever it was. I don't really have the words as when I was growing up. But I was even talking to a client where his his partner has a health condition that's an autoimmune related issue. And there's a lot of women with autoimmune conditions. And when you really draw it back down to the root cause of the autoimmune condition in these women's lives, it's the men in their lives that have caused it. And it's the lack of leadership, it's the lack of security, it's the lack of, protection, it's the lack of being a provider. It's all that stuff that adds up to this woman having to step into this masculine role that then disintegrates her physique or disintegrates her health or disintegrates her mind. And so I'm reading her blood work and I'm like, bro, this is your fault, right? Like you've been dating this girl for like 10 years. It's your fault. And he's like, well, we knew this was an issue and she didn't want to she didn't want to address it. And I was like, no, 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 you're supposed to protect her. Like it's your fault. Like even if she didn't want to do it, you should have pressed this. You should have pressed her. You should have wanted. You should have said something. And I sat there and I just shut up. And he started to cry because the reality was I was right. And that reality of the weight, like that weight, just boom. It's so emotional sometimes. You're like, I've been such a knucklehead for so long. And now it's so simple. You see the pathway forward. You have to lift the weight, but it's hard. I don't, I know I went off on a tangent, but like, do you relate to that? Does that resound with kind of your viewpoint?
Well, yeah, and what you said makes sense of the more I lead, the easier the weight feels.
Mm,
And when you were talking about it, I almost want to interrupt. It's like, but once you're doing it, man, it's gonna feel light.
mm.
It's gonna feel natural. It's gonna feel normal. You're gonna be walking around almost with your chest out, like
You're made
I
for it.
got this. Yeah, because it is. It's how we were created. We were created to do all these things, and I'll hear a lot of people talk about like what does it mean to lead, and guys will get confused when they're like, my wife says I'm not leading. And there's so many areas where it's like, yeah, like we got to do better and talk
Yeah.
about what those things are.
So I got one more question that I think I'm really curious about how you're going to answer it. Because masculinity in the context of like outside of this room, there's a negative context to it. There's this toxic masculinity conversation, and maybe it's not as loud right now. But what is your thought on toxic masculinity, and what is the difference between what they're talking about and what you talk about?
So I don't think there's anything toxic about masculinity, not
Okay,
one bit. What they're talking about is they're conflating insecure and inadequate men who use defense mechanisms, and then people conflate that with masculinity, right? And by defense mechanisms, I mean anger, control, like rage, because they're insecure or feel inadequate in some area. That's all it is. Like
sure.
there's nothing toxic about masculinity.
That's a great answer. That's what I was
Yeah.
looking
And
for.
then the reason why this toxic masculinity thing has come into play, and the reason why anything comes into play, feminism, etc., is because men have taken a back seat and allowed it. Everything that happens in culture is 100% because men either went out of their way to make something happen or they sat on the sidelines and allowed something to happen. So we just sat back for a couple decades and let this thing cultivate called toxic masculinity and didn't do anything about it.
That's a good point. So I have another sort of thought process. It's like when you start to work with men, and I'm sure everybody's on a different journey. Like even I'm not saying I'm perfect, but let's say that um, I need you. We have to. I have to use you to get to where I'm going, and Trey needs you to get to where he's going. Trey's younger than me by what, 13 years,
How old are you?
and then 43.
Yeah, 13 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's younger than me by 13 years. I've been married now. This is my third marriage, and third time's the charm, right? Trey's been married once.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of the reason why I'm married three times is the first two times I didn't do the masculinity thing well.
Mhm.
Um, is there a framework that you work off of with every individual? Or, and I know you have to kind of meet people where they are too, to some degree, but if I came to you and Trey came to you today, what would that experience look like? What is your framework of like bringing men on and then integrating with them to sort of change their viewpoint, their mind, and their heart? Because I imagine it's a sort of simultaneous
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah. And for context, I even have a guy who's actively in my one-on-one who's 67. So we would have Trey, you, him. Everybody gets a however long it is, 1 hour to 2 hour discovery deep dive where I'm only listening, asking you questions. Maybe it's about mom, dad. Define a man. So give me your definition really quick, Kenneth. What is a man?
Um, he's a provider. He's a protector. He's emotionally stable and controlled, but he's able to exert dominance when needed, and he loves really well, unconditionally. Um, I think that's probably the best I can do.
Okay. So then I would go through and I would ask like masculinity. I'm going to ask about a dozen to almost 2 dozen questions to each guy based on our first initial call to even see if I want to take you on as a client,
Yeah.
right? So there's not going to be the same dozen to 2 dozen questions for each guy. And then I'm going to, excuse me. So that's that deep dive. And then from there, there's always going to be the first two pillars that we go through are going to be the same identity and then masculinity. Now, week one, we might talk about identity, and maybe it takes Trey 2 weeks to get through identity, and then we spend the next 4 weeks on masculinity. But maybe, Kenneth, it takes you like a whole month to get through identity, which is fine. And then the next month is masculinity.
Okay.
Because we have to understand our identity and then masculinity. What does it look like to be good at being a man? Because if we're not good at being a man, we're never going to be a great husband, let alone a great father, right? So
Hmm.
again, that first like initial discovery call, I'll be taking down notes and then I'll apply that to our deep dive. And then we're going to go through that identity, masculinity. And then I have guys who aren't married, right? So then we're not going over how to be a husband after the masculinity portion. We're
They're
going to
getting their
something.
house in order.
Yeah. And every program is tailored to that guy, right?
Okay.
Um, but like we would go over a call where it's like, okay, your definition of a man, provider, protector, someone who's emotionally stable, controlled, dominant when needed, and loves well. Okay. If we took, like, I'm sure there's an aspect of all these that like could apply to a woman. Like women work, so they can be a provider. There's women out there who are emotionally stable, who love well, um, who are controlled. The protector thing, being a mama bear doesn't always count, as being a protector in my eyes. Yes, that
Sure.
serves a purpose. Dominant when needed. Oh, dude, there's women out there who dominate the shit out of people because we force them into that role.
Sure.
So then it's like the, so then, and on that first call, I never go over that with you. I'm just listening. And then later, when this applies, it's like, okay, I have written down this was your definition of a man, but a man should be so distinctly different than a woman that there's no confusion. If I said, who is this? Someone would be like, oh, that reminds me of my mom, or that reminds me of mom and dad. Like it should be so different. It's like if you would have said instead of protector, if you would have said like capable of violence to ensure peace, it's like, well, that's pretty gangster. I don't know very many women who are capable of violence to ensure peace, right? Because
Sure.
just think about that from a household standpoint or community standpoint, okay? Because a man, the definition should, in masculinity, should transcend time. 10,000 years ago, time of Jesus, Oregon Trail, today, zombie apocalypse tomorrow. It should not be different, right? It doesn't just change with the generations or with the ages. So then a man, if he's capable of violence to ensure peace, it's like, okay, so during the Oregon Trail, needed. Time of Jesus, needed. 10,000 years ago, needed. Today, I mean, we're pretty complacent, but I would still say needed. Zombie apocalypse, freaking needed. And no one's looking to the women to do those things. So that's just like one example when I ask people about their definitions. Because I've had men go, someone who pays his own bills, who's faithful, doesn't leave when it gets tough. I'm like, there's women out there who pay their bills, they're faithful, and don't leave when it gets tough. Like, we really have to understand there should be a distinct difference. And I'm not talking about biology. One has babies, one doesn't.
Right. That's a good point. I mean, yeah, you shifted my whole brain with
Mhm.
that. Um, so with that being said, and bringing Jesus back into it,
Mhm.
what are specific maybe moments or things that we overlook? And you've mentioned a couple of them, but
Mhm.
like, is there anything we need to study more closely about Jesus that makes him distinctly masculine?
Yeah, so if
Is
you
there, or, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you look at that, the Mark, the Luke, both Mark 4, Luke 4, those ones, and then if in Matthew, I think it's like Matthew 28, where the Roman soldiers grab him and Simon Peter pulls out a sword and cuts the ear, right? And he
Mm,
tells Simon to put it away. And he goes, do you not think I could not call down 72 legions of, or 24 legions of angels? Like I could.
hmm
Like this isn't the fight for right now. And then Revelations 19:11. The guy comes back on a war horse with a sword, and he's coming with an army. And it explicitly says he's coming to fight the army of the world who's teamed up with the enemy and his army. And like we as you know, Western culture churches, we want to forget about that.
Yeah, it's really, I feel like Western, and I don't know anything about the other side of the world, but it feels feminine.
Oh yeah, we've feminized Jesus. But and then man, the if we believe in the Shroud of Turin, have you guys looked into that at all?
We
So
told,
Yeah.
they told
I
us
just
last
showed
time. Yeah.
I just showed my wife, there is a podcast, and I don't know who the guest is, with Tucker Carlson, and they go
yeah,
over the whole thing.
Jeremiah Johnston, I think is
It's
his
pretty
name.
wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
if
pretty wild.
that's true, you know, he was 5'10" to 5'11" when everybody else was 5'7". So he's a whole however many inches taller than everybody. Four, 4 inches taller. That's noticeable. They think he was about 175 to 180 pounds, and he would have been lean. Think about how lean the guy would have been. There was not an abundance of food. So he would have had a very like imposing physique for that time. You know, you
That's
might
pretty
be
cool to
sick.
think about. I mean, like, it's such a weird, it's cool to put it into perspective, right? Because me and Trey are sort of in the bodybuilding world. You know,
Hmm.
I'm sitting at 228 pounds and I'm 5'10". So,
Hmm.
but at one point, my very first competition, when I was the leanest, I was like 180. So when
Hmm.
you started talking about that, I'm like, well, that's what Jesus looked like when I was dieted down for that bodybuilding competition.
Hmm.
And it's cool. I'm glad you put it into perspective because not everybody's as tall as they were or as we
Yeah.
are now versus back then. So I appreciate that
Yeah. If the
injection.
average guy is 5'7", weighing 150 pounds, and this guy, maybe even less, maybe 140, and then he's almost 180, 5'10",
Yeah,
5'11. It's
that's
like,
wild to think
yeah.
about.
And how lean with how much walking he was doing. Dude, no wonder he's walking through crowds and they're not. He's calling their bluff,
Right,
right?
right, right. 100%,
Um,
100%.
yeah, there's just the way he keeps his composure in so many aspects. And if he wanted to, he did not have to fulfill scripture. That's the thing. He fulfilled scripture. He allowed them to crucify him.
Hmm.
He didn't have to, but he did. He fulfilled every aspect of the scripture.
Right. So if men are feeling kind of like you did when you first started to think about your relationship with your wife, kind of like, man, it's got to be better. Or maybe they just feel kind of lost or they're disconnected from maybe some of the things we're talking about. What are some practical like application things that maybe they could do aside from getting on Instagram and DMing you and getting involved with you? Or is it like two or three things that you could encourage them to sort of work on?
One is be humble. Like be willing to realize you don't have it all figured out. And then find somebody, some sort of mentor, whether it's an elder, a guy who like him and his wife still hold hands, he still gives her a kiss and a pinch on the butt, and it's like they've been doing it for 50 years,
Hmm.
60 years. Like find one of them and be like, hey, what are you guys drinking? Because I want some of it. Like it just ain't, and then surround yourself with like-minded men of like where you want to be. Not like-minded men where you're at right now, like where you want to be. Because I tell everybody, and this isn't what you asked, men's mental health disappears if he has his identity in Christ, he has a great relationship with his wife, and he has a brotherhood. Like that's it. That's all we need. We're simple creatures.
I would agree with you. I had something happen over this past week. I typically train by myself.
Mhm.
And so it's not really my preference. It's just kind of the way it goes. Donna attends the gym at the same time. Um, but I've got a couple of guys on my roster that are local and I can interact with them in person. One guy in particular, he was just kind of like not in a great place. So I just invited him to go to the gym and for us to train. And um, man, his mental health just wasn't great. It just wasn't. And I just, well, why don't you just come back? Why don't you just continue to come back and train with me, and we'll just do hard things together. And he couldn't finish out the week. He had a conference that he was going to. He was actually speaking at, and he's sort of a business coach of sorts with certain guys. And so he spent the rest of the week with these guys that he kind of coaches in business. He comes back the very first day that we trained this week was Tuesday. His attitude had completely shifted 180 degrees. And I asked him, I was like, what's the difference? He said, I hung around my guys. They challenged me to think differently. They challenged me to do something else. He's got some things in the works that he's working on from a business perspective. So now he's got sort of a, he's got a purpose at home with his wife and his kids. He's got a purpose at work. He's got his dudes. He's got me. And every single time that I can ever look back at my life, when my mental health was the worst, I was isolated. And I think it's I think it's even difficult when you hear it out loud because it's kind of like exercise is good for your mental health too. Well, you can hear it and it may not, you may go to the gym and hate it, but if you consistently go do it, then it gets better. And I think it's finding the right men to have the right conversations with who are helping lead you down the road and walk through life with you. It just takes a little time. Um, but I think you're right. I think it works. I think that's very valuable. What do you
Yeah.
think, Trey? You've been really quiet.
I'm listening. I was waiting until I could chime in. I would agree with the brotherhood stuff specifically because, like, I don't know if I told you about this last time, Jesse, but back in, was it May? Yeah, I think it was May. I was going through a lot of like deep mental stuff at the time, and I just disappeared for hours. Totally disappeared. Left my phone here, didn't tell my wife what I was going, didn't tell anyone. And I had my thoughts of what I was going through, and um, a buddy of mine, he's now a close friend, he had recommended me going to this place called The Wild Adventure in Montana. So you're in Montana, there's 8 to 10 guys. Some people, their wives send them, some people, maybe they've heard from other people, but it's based off of Wild at Heart from John Eldridge. I don't know if you've ever read that or not.
I know who he
Um,
is.
and I went to this men's faith basement. I don't know what you want to call it, but all you do is fly fish, eat food that is cooked for you, and you don't have to deal with it. And you talk about the book, but you got to tell your story, and you're getting to deep conversations most men do not want to talk about. And I can tell you, like, I was always the guy that was like, I'm the lone wolf. I do not want to talk to anyone. Do not contact me. I mean, outside of Kenneth and maybe a couple other people, I really like to keep to myself. And I know Kenneth knows if he texts me, it kind of goes in the abyss and he probably won't get a response for a bit. And that's just how I function. I just keep to myself and do what's needed for myself and the wife. And I can tell you, life changing was like a understatement that I saw, wow, the importance of having a brotherhood or a male masculine community. Because with this trip, I was the youngest one. I was 30. Everyone else was 50s, 60s. They'd been married. They'd made every mistake. That is why I wanted to go out there. I wanted to learn from men that had been through it and not be talking to these fitness people or whatever I normally do. And it was also the first time I ever truly heard God and truly felt like he was talking to me and is very, I still say coincidental, but is on a specific day with Father's Day, which is a day that really rides true to me. And he spoke to me, and ever since then, it's not perfect, but I would say there was a drastic difference. And I've noticed since I've continued to talk to the men I met in Montana and doing the devotional we do together and talking to them. And then yesterday I started a new men's group, and it was the closest thing I got to that Montana trip of having that brotherhood with strangers. And it just happened to be a buddy invited me to go. I think it was like yesterday morning at 6:30. And I'm now starting to really see, based off of those two experiences and continue to talk to these guys, how important that brotherhood and that male community is from the mental health aspect. Because just from coming back from Montana, I didn't have any of my Tourette's like tics that I get from stress. I didn't have any of it while I was out there. I was actually happy. I was actually laughing. My wife was actually seeing me smile, a totally different person. And then after the group yesterday, I started my client late that I needed to train because I just wanted to tell my wife about the group. I was so excited. I was like, wow, like I noticed yesterday I was actually happy, felt more confident. I was like, wow, like I'm actually, and I'm seeing why community was so important. And I'm kicking myself in the balls looking back every time I ignored my counselor and other people saying, hey, you need community. You can't just be you at all times. You have to
Mhm.
have that. So at least from the community aspect, I totally agree how important that was. And then also, the other thing I've been changing since that trip is making more time for God or Jesus and really being intentional with that and not being a control freak when it comes to the business and life. Before, if a client would drop off or I'd deal with some tough client, I'd be frank, I'd lose my shit. I'd get stressed out. I'd talk about my wife, end up stressing her out. Where now, if that happens, especially the last few weeks, I've noticed I've been able to stay calm, like, hey, like God's got this. I gotta pray. I've got to trust in Him. I can't keep wanting to control every single thing in my life. So those are two scenarios where, at least with myself, I've seen how important that was. I don't know if any of that related to it, but that's at least what I got from what y'all are talking about. At least for me, where I saw the importance of both of those areas.
Mhm.
I have a question for Jesse. Um, since you're leading a lot of these guys to this outcome of, being the head of their household, the masculine side of their relationship, the follower of Jesus, all of those things, how do you, in your life, in your day to day, are you connecting? Like, what opportunities do you have to connect with men that you want to be like? And then also, how are you in your day to day pursuing your relationship with Jesus? How are you modeling that for the guys that you're leading?
So I'm up at 3:30. So I have my Bible open at like 3:40. So I'm reading the Bible and then I'll
Time to
eat.
go to bed.
Oh, dude, I don't know. I say I don't know because it's different every night. Anywhere between 8 to 9:30. Yeah,
So you're
I would
living on
like
very little
8.
sleep.
I would like
Yeah,
8, but it can be 9:30 sometimes. If it's past 9:30, I'm grumpy.
sure.
Like in my head, I'm telling my wife, I'm going to bed. And she'll be like, no,
Right.
and even if before it gets to that, she'll be like, you can go to bed. But if the boys
That makes
are,
sense.
depending on what the boys are doing, I'll stay up to help her with them. Um, but I don't have to do that very often. I get a decent amount of sleep. And then on Sunday, I actually sleep in. So Sunday is sleep in day.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I'll eat. And then about like 4:15-ish, me and my dogs, we go either for a walk or a ruck. And there's a 3-mile loop from my house. I don't care if it's raining or snowing. We just go. And it's dead quiet. It's completely dark. I don't take a
I bet it's
headlamp.
wonderful.
Oh
Gosh.
man, it's wonderful. I love it. And it's away from the houses. I just gotta go like 1 block and it's out of the houses into where the hills are and coyotes and all that.
Hmm.
So we'll do this 3-mile walk. I get home. Sometimes I'll take a shower and we just go to the gym.
Okay.
And then I hit the gym and I'm back home before my kids are even awake. So I
Wow.
get so much alone time in the morning that it's like a mini vacation for me. And then
Right.
as far as the men, I have a very tight-knit circle who I communicate with. We'll get on Zoom calls, or we're texting, or we'll plan stuff. But yeah, it's a small group. But I get, yeah. And then I host a series of group men's calls because I have a men's community. And I've grown to really like some of these guys. And we're even doing a men's retreat in June. We already have it
Oh,
all
great.
booked up. Yeah.
Where's that going to be?
Lake Almanor.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty cool lake. We have a couple houses already booked up.
That's really great.
Yeah.
So you're coaching one-on-one and you have group calls. What are the
Mhm.
differences? Give us the levels of access that you give to men.
So there's the men's community, which is essentially if you want to be on those calls, it's $100 a month. And we do 5 calls a week. So on Mondays, mastering manhood. Tuesdays, just a live Q&A. Wednesdays, a Bible study, which is for free for anyone in the men's community. Fridays, high value man. So how do you court yourself, carry yourself, date your wife? Saturday is family leadership. And then about every 2 weeks, I'll have a guest speaker.
Cool.
But those calls, they're not really tailored specifically to Trey or Kenneth. It's more, here's how it can be beneficial to everybody on the call.
It's very
You
general.
know,
Yep.
yeah. And then, but with questions, because I tell them I'm not here to lecture. So I'll ask a lot of questions, a lot of open-ended questions to the guys. So then it can take an organic route. And if one guy wants to be asking 25 questions, I do not care. He's the one at least stepping up and talking. So
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
this guy's essentially turned it into a one-on-one for him because that topic resonated with him. And then my one-on-one coaching is completely different. Those guys, my one-on-one are usually not even in the men's community until they either graduate or they're about to graduate. And then it's that like just staying sharp, right? When Brady won a Super Bowl, he didn't just fire his coach.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I'll be honest with you. We're kind of up on an hour, and I think I'll, I have a lot of questions. Like,
Mhm.
I have more questions that we could literally do. And part of me thinks I'd like to have you on again. And because not that I want to steal anything away from your business,
Oh no,
but what I see is a person who's very aligned with the things that I believe in.
mhm,
And you have a different viewpoint because your focus has been this from a professional package that you offer to men.
mhm,
And I always gain a little nugget here or there, but most of the time we're on the same playing field. And I I would like to have some semi-regular occurrence with you so that my clients who are beginning to access the podcast are getting a little bit more of you because I don't think your following's big enough. I
mhm,
don't think your mission, I mean, your mission it should be the mission. I think the biggest issue that we have in our community, in our nation, in the world is we lack Christ following masculine men.
mhm. Yeah.
And I'm like real passionate about it. And I've kind of tamped down my excitement level for this podcast because I realized like last time I was like vibrating and I didn't really want to vibrate today because I wanted to have you actually speak and get a lot about what you do and how you do it. But there's so much to unpack. Like I think about like identity. There's yes, there's identity in Christ, but like there's an integration period there. There's levels of like realizing that this is the unshakable identity. I didn't always have it. the emotional intelligence and inner work that you have to do.
Hmm.
There's like the challenge of having to look at everything the way that you're looking at it, which is opposite of what a lot of people look at it. And then there's culture, and then like there's all these facets of being a man when you can kind of boil it down to where we're really simple. But to get the man to the simple place, there's a lot of interchangeable. I feel like it's a Rubik's Cube. Even though we're simple, it's also a complicated thing. There's a lot of things that we have to unpack along the way. And that's why they need your personal leadership and guidance, if that makes sense. Or am I
Hmm.
just yammering?
No, it makes sense. Like
Okay.
we've complicated it, I feel, because fathers stopped intentionally discipling their sons.
Right.
Otherwise,
So
it would
what,
just be this revolving door of like, we're producing men, we're producing men, we're producing men. But we
right.
stopped.
You said something earlier about how you want to be famous for hunting.
Oh yeah.
And bro, I want to be a hunter. You know how difficult it is for me to find a man to mentor me on how to be a hunter as a 43-year-old man. I can't find one. I
Really?
mean, I guess I can't. And I'm in North
Huh.
Carolina where deer hunting is a thing. And like
Yeah, but you
I
guys
can't,
sit in tree stands and like wait for it to come by.
Yeah,
but I
it's
don't want
not
to do
that
that.
hard.
But I don't want to do that.
You
Oh
I
go,
don't
no,
want to.
I wouldn't want
I
to do
know
that
it's not
either.
that hard. I can go sit in the woods and kind of figure it out. But it's the learning from someone that has mastered it
Hmm.
there's something about that. There's a draw to that. Like if
Yeah.
I lived in your neighborhood, guess what, homie? At 3:45, I'm sitting at your doorstep waiting for you and your dogs to come out because I'm going to be like, "Hey, we're going on a walk and we're going to figure this thing out."
Yeah.
And I say that sort of as a joke, but it's also like, okay, you have a following. You
Hmm.
have a thing to say. People want to follow you. I would be knocking at your door for maybe different reasons, but there's a reason, right? Because you're a man. Isn't there like, didn't you say something like if you're a man and there's like dudes knocking at your door, like, hey, can I get to know you? Can we interact? Can we hang out? Can we go lift? Can we break bread together? That's probably a great sign that you're a masculine dude,
Hmm.
that other dudes want you in their circle.
Hmm.
So if you didn't live in Timbuktu, I probably would go hang out with you, whether you liked it or not.
Hmm.
And then I have other guys here in my community that are calling me, asking me advice, calling me, hey, do you want to go lift? Do you want to go do this? There's all kinds of things that we can learn from each other. And what's the fun of going in the woods and figuring it out by yourself?
Hmm.
When you have somebody that can be like, hey, bro, don't go over that ridge. Done that before.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope that you'll entertain more conversations because I don't want this message to go not listened to.
Hmm.
And that's why I kind of pressed you about this second recording because the first one was so crappy. I was so disheartened by that because it was like this message has to be talked about.
Hmm.
And so at the very end, if you have a 20-year-old guy or a 30-year-old guy, he's like on the fence. He's like, man, he's kind of pulling my heart a little bit, but he kind of sounds crazy. What would be the thing that you would tell them to do to change their perspective to follow the mission, to be a part of the mission? The one thing.
Just not wanting to look back in 50 years with regret. Wish I coulda,
There we
woulda.
go.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah. Instagram at Jesse Carstairs. I think my YouTube is at Jesse Carstairs. Um, my podcast is The Jesse Carstairs Show.
Man, that's so
Yeah,
easy, isn't
yeah,
it?
exactly.
And I'll just say this, I've been marinating on this since the last time we had a conversation about how your boys don't wear other people's jerseys.
Mhm,
You just wear jerseys of your last name. It
mhm.
has been literally just in my brain rolling around the whole time since the last time we talked. So every time you just say where people can find you and it's just your name, it just makes me think, man, it's going to be real easy to find Jesse when he's famous.
Yeah, just Jesse Carstairs. I mean, I don't know if I brought this up last time, but this catches people off guard. Every time I introduce somebody or someone introduces themselves to me, I shake their hand and tell them my first and last name.
You did say that, and I actually started to implement that
Mm.
when I left because I think that's important because people don't forget it.
Yeah, you're just another John, another Kenneth, another Trey, another Jesse. It's like no
Right.
one's gonna remember that.
You're right.
And I don't know about you guys, but James Bond always added his last name.
It's a good point.
Yeah,
It's a
and
really
there was
good
a
point.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, you
thanks
guys
again.
invite me anytime, man. I will come back.
We'll do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Trey, you got anything else?
Except for the next one, just because it's getting an hour. I don't want to take all this time. And he's sick. I mean, we appreciate you just coming back on, man. But
Yeah. No, I appreciated it.
we'll definitely have you back on. I wouldn't mind like figuring out something.
Okay.
Just do it. We'll post it up and tag you, and then I'll post it. It'll actually go up tonight, but I'll share it tomorrow. And hopefully we can figure out something. I don't know if it's like we'll figure out how it makes it work. Because like obviously you have to get something out of it. It's kind of not fair to you, but maybe it's something like we do a series or something like that and space it out. I don't know. Because I agree. I think like a lot of what you're saying is true. I have a lot of questions of like to go along with stuff, but I think we
Yeah,
can.
the next one should be the questions that Trey has.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So,
Like, yeah, there's a few questions I got, but we can save that for the next one. Maybe people will come back and listen, but we appreciate it, man. And
All right.
let's put some
Well, yeah,
time.
I
great dude.
enjoy it. I legitimately do.
Yeah,
Awesome.
cool.
See you soon.
All right. I'll see you guys.
Yep.
All
See you,
right,
man.
bye.